So today is the big move, going to Morocco quickly, getting breakfast from the hotel, so see you shortly. So just packing my final suitcase, then off the airport, and yeah, Morocco, inshallah. We walked down to the car, packed all the suitcases in. As I went to get into the car, I see this massive scratch on the side, and I was like, oh, someone must have, I don't know, just drove past or whatever it may be. And then I walked around to the front of the car. I need to focus on driving back. I walked around to the front of the car and there was 4 massive scratches all in a straight line, like a certain pattern or whatever. So someone must have just keyed the car 5 times. Everyone's Morocco, except for me. Look at this view. Not of me, of that mountain view. Now we picked up 5 of these milfies or something like that. This is the first one I'm having. Finally in a big supermarket. I feel very comfortable here. I'm extremely happy with that. And with that being said, let's move on to the next destination. What are you doing for me? So today we literally just went to the estate agent, went to sign the contracts for our apartment. Alhamdulillah. Something I've noticed about a lot of drinks in Morocco is that they just flood it with syrup. So if you enjoy very, very sweet drinks, then you'll enjoy the drinks in Morocco. What's up with this in every kitchen in Morocco? I've seen this in every kitchen. Start walking backwards. Yeah. So you've seen my crib. Now get the flip out. Is it recording? I'm sorry about the last bit. Assalamu alaikum. So I'm going to try sugarcane juice for the first time ever. Bismillah. Very nice. It's actually very good. Let's start. It's a bit embarrassing for me. Today we are here at the best restaurant in Rabat. This is what I've heard. Had a rough last few days, probably about 4 days, no, 3 to 4 days now. I think about 3 days actually, where I've had some really bad food poisoning. Probably about 4:30, coming up to 5 a.m. Haven't been to the masjid in about 4 days because I've been so ill. But alhamdulillah, just went for Fajr. Just these times when it's silent in the morning, you have time to think.
It's so beautiful. That's what was that again?
The graveyard.
Graveyard. Not beautiful. Anyways, look at that. It's so beautiful. Yo, come on, bro. You become like them.
I'll get peace.
You're cringing so hard.
Yeah, stick with the mango. Yeah, I think you're heading to the airport literally what, half an hour or so, less?
Yeah, I'm leaving at 1:15 a.m. And
I'll tell you what, here, just someone teaching English.
Nice tour guide, but I wish I never did it because he tried to charge me 300 for it, which is about 30 euros or high 20s. And then I was like, nah, max up is like 200. So, like, even that's overpriced, to be honest. I mean, it's nice and everything, it's just yapping a bit. I could have just done that by myself. Okay, something really weird happened. Kind of funny at the same time is that, so we came out of the train station. Sorry, it's a little bit loud. I'm going to try and edit the audio, but came out of the train station. We've been using this app called InDrive, which apparently is illegal. We didn't know until quite recently. Anyway, there's a bunch of there's some stories about taxi drivers actually like physically intimidating the InDrive drivers. So there's 2 sets of drivers, and literally that just happened just now. So we had to leave the InDrive driver and walk away because I don't want to give my service to these drivers who just try and intimidate other people, and half of them are scam artists as well. They just upcharge you like crazy. You know what, after staying in this, you know, lovely apartment with a tree for a couple of nights now, it's made me come to a realization which I didn't think would be the case, but because, you know, I'm still in Morocco, not even that far from my apartment, about 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes. And I've noticed that in the last 24 to 48 hours, my Iman has it's dropped. And I don't want to be one of these guys who's like, you know, apparently living a good life and all of this and complaining about Iman, but I think that's the reality of coming to places where you have these sort of luxuries and riches and stuff like that. Alhamdulillah, it's such a beautiful day today. It's great just to sit here and enjoy the weather. It gives you time to think and time to really take in everything that's happening in life. SubhanAllah, what a crazy life. I'm sure I'll watch this back in maybe a year's time, 2 years time, if I'm still on social media. I just think this was just the start or part of a crazy adventure, inshallah. I think one downside is that I've started to feel a little bit homesick, and it's not homesick in the sense of I miss London or I miss England or Europe or whatever it is. It is nothing to do with the place itself. It's more to do with missing family. That's the number one thing. I do very much miss my parents, especially, and I miss some friends. Yeah, I miss some dear friends. It's quite isolating when you move to a new place. It's quite, especially, I can only imagine if you're by yourself. You're moving to a new country by yourself, you're not married yet. That's why I said in one of my videos, you should get married and then move. Because even with a wife, it's very isolating, very lonely. Because yes, you have each other, but at the same time, you need friends. And I've made a couple of friends, but as we've traveled more and I'm in Rabat now, I can't see those friends. And even then, they're new friends. They're not super familiar, but inshallah, they'll become familiar. So yeah, missing home a little bit in that sense. I'll be going home in about three weeks or so. I think, yeah, in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be going home back to London. And then I'll be traveling to Belgium to visit my wife's family as well, inshallah. I think something that I've also come to a realization about is that I've always wondered, you know, why have these communities come to the West, especially when I was a non-Muslim. And I wondered why in London you have certain communities, maybe in like Southall, you have a Indian and like Hindu / Sikh / Muslim community which just don't really integrate. Similarly with Slough and I'm sure like Bradford, etc. They don't really integrate with the British society and community a lot of the time. And I've always wondered that, like, why do you move to our country and you don't want to assimilate, you don't want to integrate? And I'm starting to actually understand it now. It's like you move away from home, from everything that you know, and if you were to fully integrate, then you'd basically lose everything that you had. And of course, as Muslims, the only thing that should really truly matter is whether we have Islam in our hearts. But we are also human. We are also yearning for what's familiar to us, what we've grown up with. And of course, I've had good intentions moving for the sake of Allah. But I'm still human, man. Like, it's still just new to me. Like, I'm not trying to be a downer in this video, and I think some of my videos that come off like that, alhamdulillah, I'm so happy. I'm even fortunate to be in this position. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. It's been a whole year, I think. Yeah, so the last video that I made, I can't actually remember which video it is, but it was roughly a year ago. So now we're coming towards the end of July, and you're probably thinking, yeah, firstly, who are you? I can't remember who you are. It's been a whole year since I've seen your video. What happened? Are you still in Morocco? Well, it'll be obvious that I'm not in Morocco anymore. Where have I been? What have I been up to? Why did I leave Morocco? etc, etc, right? I'll be honest, I've been wanting to make this video for at least 6 to 9 months. I think I had a few months where I was sort of just getting over everything and I just wanted to be away from social media. I'd been posting videos on social media for like a year and a half at that point, and I was just done. I was burnt out. There'd just been, you know, loss after loss after loss in various aspects of life, and I was just kind of done, right? But I didn't think it would be this long until I made another video. Well, at one point I thought I was done with social media. But yeah, we can get on to that. If you don't know who I am, my name is Hijrah Growth. I am a Muslim revert, alhamdulillah, about 2.5 years now, alhamdulillah. Actually over 2.5, yeah, actually about 2.5. I'm gonna stop waffling. 2.5 years, alhamdulillah. In the last 2.5 years, obviously I found Islam, I found the truth, I became Muslim, took my shahada, alhamdulillah. I quit my job, which was, you know, it involved riba, even though it was a very good salary. I quit my job. I started social media. I traveled. I got married. Then I made Hijrah. And then I stopped Hijrah for the time being. And then I had a son. And for those of you who have been following me for a while, a lot has happened in this short amount of time. But honestly, it's all by the will of Allah, and that has been my life for the most part. Like every year has just gotten crazier and crazier, or just eventful. And maybe I'm to blame. Poor choices. I get bored very easily. Maybe I have, I don't know, a condition where I just get very bored very easily. I don't know. But yeah, that's in summary who I am. I guess my age, I'm 27. I work in tech. Well, currently work in tech. I'll be leaving soon, inshallah. My background is studied computer science. My ethnicity, I don't actually know. I tell people I'm Irish and Filipino. I also have some Chinese and Indian heritage and maybe some Spanish as well. So yeah, that's me. When I decided that I wanted to make Hijrah, it was with pure intentions. Of course, you know, I'm doing it for the sake of Allah. And when you give something up for the sake of Allah, Allah verily will give something up for the sake of Allah, and Allah will replace it with something better for you. So this was my intention. Obviously, there were other things that came into play, like, I don't know, cost of living is a lot less in Muslim countries. So that was also a draw, I'll be honest. There was also being surrounded by Muslims, hearing the adhan 5 times a day, having masjid 5 minutes walk, 2 minutes walk, 10 minutes walk, whatever it is. Halal food, you don't have to really search for it too much. What else? More hayat, like modesty. People were less sort of topless. Women actually wore clothes, wore hijab, wore niqab, all of these things, right? What else? Nicer weather. In the UK is so bad. Oh my days. It's just like bipolar. It's raining and then it's sunny and then it's snowing and then it's windy and gloomy and yeah. Anyway, those were my intentions, and shortly after, well, a good maybe few months to 4 or 5 months after I married my wife, we made Hijrah to Morocco, specifically Tanger, up in the north of Morocco. And alhamdulillah, we visited 4 different cities in Morocco, and we decided with Tanger because it had very good links in terms of airport, in terms of sort of traveling to other cities. Probably the nicest weather in Morocco, not too hot for the most part, but also not cold, of course. There was a somewhat decent Hijrah community there, so that's also another reason. And we overall just liked the vibe when we first got there. Even though it's a bit pricey compared to some cities, we just liked the vibe. I think it was to do with the Airbnb when we first got there. There was a scent of oud, and it was so nice. And it was on Jummah, on a Friday, of course. And that whole sort of aroma of like nice smell on the holy day of the week, yeah, it sold us on that place. So yeah, we found a place very quickly, and in between us sort of moving in, we decided to travel to Rabat and Casablanca. Rabat, I got terrible food poisoning, but funnily enough, the best time that I had in Morocco was in Rabat. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I had an amazing time. Aside from the 4 to 5, almost a week of food poisoning, I couldn't get out of bed. The only times I got out of bed was to throw up. But yeah, I had a really good time. I really liked the vibe in Rabat. It's very laid back, very chilled, but it felt very, outside of the city centre, it felt very peaceful and Islamic, and the masajid, totally beautiful. The people, very friendly, except from that tour guide who tried to rip me off. For those of you who remember the vlog, probably not. And also I met 2 brothers who I'm still actually quite good friends with now, and I'm learning Arabic through the teacher of one of these brothers. Yeah, had a really good time in Rabat. I remember being in Rabat and just liking it, and actually kind of thinking like maybe we shouldn't have rushed into getting an apartment in Tanger, Sattar. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have rushed into it. However, in Tanger, I did meet some brothers who were very, very nice. Maybe they'll watch this. My neighbors, there's a revert from Belgium, very, very friendly guy. I liked him a lot, you know. I feel bad, and I really hope he's watching this. And I do have his number, so I probably should message him, but I don't know, I just feel a bit awkward doing it because I left, yeah. But he's a really nice guy, a revert from Belgium. And he made me feel welcome. But I think during that time period, I was under a lot of stress, and I'll come on to this in a bit as to why we decided to move back to the West for the time being. But I was under a lot of stress, and I'll move on to that after. But anyway, me being under a lot of stress, I wasn't able to be friends with people in the way that I would like to. I wasn't able to network as well as I wanted to. I wasn't able to do many things as well as I wanted to, unfortunately. But Qadar Allah, Alhamdulillah. Oh, and then after Rabat, we went to Casablanca. Casablanca, I didn't really like it at all, to be honest with you. It's quite dirty compared to the other cities. There was, I think I counted maximum 5 cockroaches in 3 different cities in Morocco, and then I went to Casablanca and I counted 5 within a few minutes. So yeah. So anyway, that's why I decided to make Hijrah. And also yeah, very, very quick summary of us being in Morocco. Now I'm going to talk about the reasons why we decided to leave. If I look over here, it's because I have a list. I haven't got a script or anything, just literally a short list of different reasons why. I'm not going to dig too deep into these just because I don't want to put other people off from making Hijrah there. I'm unfortunately quite, I don't want to say picky, but I'm quite specific in what I like. I feel like that's a different way of saying picky. My first impressions of Morocco. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of, I thought I would feel more, and I thought I would feel closer to Islam, and I thought that the people would be friendlier. And I'm not saying that the people were not friendly, but I thought they would be friendlier. From what I'd heard from other people, Moroccans were very, very friendly. And some are, of course, and some aren't. That's just with people in general, not anything specific to Morocco. But I think my first impressions, the natural beauty of the place is really, really nice. And if you're going on a holiday, you'd have an amazing time. But the natural beauty isn't enough for you to want to live there. And aside from the natural beauty, I would say that I was fairly underwhelmed in terms of, maybe I just built up my expectations too high. I was on Instagram scrolling these accounts that highlight the best parts of Morocco, of Rabat, of Tanger, of, you know, all of these different places. Maybe that's why. So maybe that's a me problem. Oh, and something I wanted to add in, I'll probably cut this back, but the reason I didn't make this video is because I really, and people will probably say, why didn't you just make the video, just tell the truth? I needed time to reflect. I'll be honest with you, I needed time to reflect. I didn't want to make a video in a rush and be like, you know, say things that maybe I'd regret saying later on, because I just realized this whole time I'm not even looking at the lens. I'm actually so annoyed. But anyway, yeah, so I needed time to reflect. Like, was it the country? Was it the people? Was it the food? I don't know. Was it the convenience, a lack of convenience? What was it? Or was it me? That's what I've been contemplating this whole time. I've done a lot of self-reflection, honestly, so much self-reflection that, yeah, I think I've done enough to really know why our hijrah didn't work in Morocco. So leading on from being underwhelmed, I would say the culture shock. Now, I'll be honest, it's not that difficult to live in Morocco. I got told by Moroccans, oh, you're just not built for Morocco, this and that, like, you're too soft. Morocco is not that difficult to live in, especially if you have online income. Like, it's not that difficult. Doesn't seem to be that much crime, honestly. There's more crime in London compared to Morocco. It's a lot quieter outside of the very city centres. You know, obviously, if you're a local and you're struggling with money, 100%, life is going to be tough. But from my position, it wasn't tough in that aspect. It was tough in different ones. So the culture shock. What am I talking about when I say the culture shock? And I've heard the same thing from other people who have also visited Morocco or lived there for a little bit. On the surface, people don't come across as super friendly, I'll be honest. And I'm from London, so people don't really smile at each other anyway, but we got a lot of stares in the street. Just like anytime we would go out, people would just stare. And I'm not sure if that's just a Moroccan thing. I don't know if it's because I'm a foreigner. I don't know what it was, but it was very uncomfortable. Like, it genuinely was. And I understand it because when I was younger, I would go to the Philippines with my parents and my siblings. And my dad is white. And so everybody would sort of look at him. But it was more intrigue and like friendly looks rather than the looks that we got in Morocco was more like... And then I would stare back because I would feel like, why are you being aggressive? Why are you staring at me and my wife? So I stare back, and then as soon as I stare back, they're like, and then I catch them looking again. It's like, bro, just stop looking at me. Lower your gaze or do something else, you know? So that was something that really was a bit unsettling for us. Like, it's not nice going out and everybody's just staring at you all the time. Yeah, it's just a bit weird. And then other sort of culture shocks, I suppose. For example, the lack of convenience. And once again, I'm from London. My wife is from another city in Europe. And we are used to a certain amount of convenience. And I know that when you make hijrah, you make it for the sake of Allah. And you know that it's not going to necessarily be comfortable all the time. But it just seemed like that anything and everything we needed to do, it was just a hassle. Like, even to the point of I wanted to sign up to a running track, an athletics track, and it was always empty. And I went there and there was a security card there and I asked, can I run here? He's like, no, even though it's completely empty. He's like, no. And I said, am I able to pay? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, how much? And he says, oh no, you have to go to the city centre, which is like 30 minutes away, 20 minutes away. And you have to sign up. And so we go all the way to the city centre. And at the time we didn't have a car. So we had to get a taxi. Went all the way to city centre. The building for it, the specific building, is closed and the person is away. That's what a security guard said. And I'll have to come back in a month's time. I never ended up signing up because it was too long. Like, the process is just ridiculous. And it's not just that one time. Like, you get this same thing over and over and over. Life is just a lot slower. And I'm from London. Like, I'm not used to it. It's quite frustrating to be stuck in that where you want to go do something, but you have to wait for someone else to meet with them and for them to get approval from someone else. And yeah, it's just not the one. Convenience in terms of you can't even get the right food ingredients all the time. From like the best supermarkets, Marjan, they have a lot of things, but they also lack a lot. And also the things that you really want, which are usually imported, are way too expensive, end up spending way too much money, which I'll come on to after. You could obviously go to like markets and the cheaper shops and all of that, of course. Those are a bit further away. So once again, convenience, which I think is a me problem. I think I just need to get used to not having everything that I want all the time. This is just a luxury that we have in the West, that we can basically have whatever we want, whenever we want. And it's something that we need to snap out of. However, I have to be realistic and say, at the time, like, what was I meant to do? Like, I'm not used to it. Yeah, I think I'm going to get a lot of stick for that one, to be honest. And to be honest, if you're here to comment and give me hate and give me whatever, I'm here just to kind of explain what's happened. If you want to do that, okay, fine, do that. But ask yourself, one, have you made Hijrah? Probably not. Two, how many times have you put yourself out of your comfort zone? Probably almost never. You know, it's very easy to comment these things sitting behind a keyboard when you're probably still living with your parents or whatever it is. It is what it is. Just as I'm editing this, I realize one big reason that I left out. Essentially, language. Like, if you don't speak Arabic, maybe if you can speak a bit of French, maybe, but if you can only speak English, it's very, very difficult. And that caused further issues because then I had to rely on my wife speaking to other men, which it's not ideal. And it made her uncomfortable, made me uncomfortable. And you end up feeling like useless. like you can't even communicate with people. Of course, make the effort to learn the language, but at the time, I was very, very busy trying to make money to sustain us. And also, I didn't have any prior knowledge of Arabic. Maybe now I would have been in a better position because I've been doing a bit of Arabic for a few months now. Okay, next thing is lack of community. So there was a Hijrah community, as I mentioned. However, there weren't many British people. It's just me, another brother, and a Moroccan who had lived in the UK for many years. But so it was basically three of us in our whole complex. I know there were probably a handful of other brothers who were British. But one thing that I have to highlight with Hijrah groups in Morocco, they don't really allow people, that's the wrong way of saying it. They allow people in, but you have to go and find them. They don't make it obvious. Like, I know Hijrah groups in maybe like Turkey and other places, they make it very obvious. They advertise it essentially because they want people to come. I didn't get that feeling with Morocco. I found that some of the people in the group chats were they looked down on people. They were not necessarily very inviting. They're very blunt with their replies sometimes when you're asking genuine questions. And yeah, I think the community aspect of Hijrah in Morocco, specifically Tanger, by the way, because I don't know what it's like in the other parts, but specifically Tanger, needs to definitely improve. Either visibility or just like the people running these groups need to fix up a little bit, to be honest. Okay, now I'm going to come on to the serious reasons as to why I stopped my Hijrah journey for the time being, because the reasons I listed so far weren't enough for us to just stop, right? I want to make that clear. We weren't going to just move back to the West because, convenience isn't there, or, it's a slow pace of life. People are staring at us. That wouldn't have been enough. I would say with every single Hijrah journey, this seems to be the issue, is financial issues. Now, I was unemployed when I made Hijrah. Yeah, people are going to think I'm so stupid, and maybe I was. I was unemployed, but I still had somewhat of an income. However, I just gotten married not too long before, and so I wasn't working, all the time like I usually would. So my income dipped a little bit. And when you're under financial stress, and though I'm sure a lot of people know, it's hard to enjoy life. Like, it's hard to switch off from work because you're like, I can always do more because I need to make this money for us to be, to sustain us. And of course, Allah is the one who sustains us, and He provides us provisions. But at the same time, you need to go out and do the thing. You need to tie your camel. You need to actually go out into the world and work hard. Otherwise, yeah. So I found myself working all the time and barely going out. And we didn't really get to explore that much of the country as much as we would want to. We explored a bunch of different places in the first month. And then after that, we barely went out. And that's my bad because I was just working all the time. And especially when you're working all the time and your money's going down and down and down, and you're not making a huge amount of income, it takes its toll. It really does. Like, and I'm just being open and honest here. It takes its toll, and everything else starts to take a back seat. You start to forget even the reasons why you made Hijrah sometimes. Your iman starts to drop a little bit because you're like, I did this with the purest of intentions, I believe. So why is it not working? You know, you start to have these doubts and it stresses you out. Like, I'm not here to feel sorry for myself. Like, I could have done so many different things better. I could have budgeted way better. Oh my days. I could have budgeted so much better. I shouldn't have been flying home every 2 months. We spent like £2,000 to fly home and hotels and all of that every 2 months. So in those 8 months, what's that? Yeah, I spent like 8 grand on just travel in those 8 months. How many of you can afford to just take that hit and just be like, yeah, cool. And then spending like 1.2 to 1.5 on rent and bills and stuff. Like every month I was dropping like £3,000 to £3,500. No, sorry. Roughly £2,500 I was dropping every month for like 8 months. How many of you can take that hit? Like, you gotta be honest, that's a lot of money. And yeah, so that took its toll. I burnt out, honestly. I woke up roughly around my birthday when I turned 27. Not that I celebrate birthdays, but I woke up then and I felt so low. And I said to my wife, I was just like, I think I just want to get a job. I think, you know, I've given this a good shot. And we've stayed here for like 6-7 months at that point, and things just weren't improving. And I just felt like, okay, Hijrah isn't going to be over. It's still going to be an aim. However, part of the Hijrah journey, you're gonna take some setbacks, and you're gonna step back if you need to into the West. A lot of people do this. They move back so they can save up more money or whatever it is, and then they try Hijrah again. And this was essentially what we wanted to do. And so I feel like I'm missing out a lot, but anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to highlight. And so anyway, so I found out my wife was pregnant. We performed Umrah, and I found a job, a pretty good job, to be honest. I'm still working it now. I actually handed in my resignation today, but I offered to still work there for 3 months. It's at a tech company. So it's good salary and all that, but I think it's time. It's time to try Hijrah again. Inshallah, I'll reveal a bit more as time goes by because we haven't got a full plan. But I'm determined to make sure that this plan is way better than last time. And I think the country we will choose will be a lot more suited to us as well. You know what? It's so hard to make these videos without having an actual script. Like, I've just got a few points on the side, but I feel like I'm missing out so much. And I just want to wrap up this video with some lessons, yeah? And I don't want this video to seem like I'm blaming the country of Morocco or the people or whatever. The real blame lies with me. I went into this blinded by my high iman at the time. I went into this not planning my Hijrah properly, not planning the move properly, spending way too much money, not budgeting, thinking that somehow I had an endless supply of money, not making any attempt to learn the language, really, not really trying to network too much, not really going out there and viewing the country past the first month of being there, going home too often, because I was just homesick, not lowering my standards enough to be realistic with the country that I'm in. Like Morocco, you can't compare Morocco with, say, London. You can't compare Tanger with London. It's just a totally different place, and I just wasn't willing to accept that. So there was so many things that I could have done better, and I needed this time to reflect. And at the moment, I'm in Belgium. We've just been here for a month. I've had my beautiful son, alhamdulillah. And we're going back to London tomorrow. We've been staying there since the end of last year, or start of this year. And we've had a good time. It's good to reconnect with family. That's the big thing. It's good to start saving again and be able to not worry so much about money. That's been amazing. But at the same time, it's time. It's time for me to stop working that 9 to 5 and just try again on my own. I have some business opportunities, more promising than last time. Yeah, better plan for making Hijrah, inshallah. I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm actually going to document this whole journey again. And hopefully, inshallah, you'll be able to, or you'll want to stay around. Yeah, I'm running out of time or memory or whatever it is on my camera. So appreciate you listening, and I hope you didn't take offense, especially if you're Moroccan. It is what it is. Assalamu alaikum.